Okay, hello everyone. This is our mental health amongst males discussion, and we have three new guest speakers here. Starting off with Liam, want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Liam. I'm the lecturer for years 1 and 2 music production.
Hello, I'm Daniel. I'm a year 2 student on the level 3 music production course.
Hey, I'm Chris. I'm a level 3 music production student on year 2. In year 2, I can't speak today.
Yeah, thank you everyone. Going straight into our first question, how is it that men can suffer from mental health as a whole? Any takers?
Well, I think I suffered from mental health like anyone else, but I think there's a lens that men experience through mental health through, which is I can't put it. I'd say it's like a lens that we experience mental health through just because we're men, like we experience it in a masculine way. But I think when you're in a world looking up to men and looking how to be a man, and a lot of people don't have like male roles.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard because mental health isn't seen, well, having the vulnerability to share mental health isn't seen as masculine, so it's hard to go through that while also being male.
Daniel?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's a thing of like, as Chris said, the vulnerability thing is like you can't really, you're not allowed to in some ways, if that makes sense, like kind of just brush it off, which I think is quite a damaging narrative, to be honest. What are your takes on it, Liam?
I think you boys are right. There's a bit of an expectation for males or boys and young men to be a bit hardened, hold things in, be quite, insulated in terms of sharing how they feel, sharing their emotions and things like that. And that can be quite damaging in terms of mental health. And that's one way that music production, I think, and making music helps a bit, because for boys, young men, it gives them a chance and an avenue to express some of that stuff that they're holding inside in an environment where it's kind of accepted. It's accepted for men to express their feelings and emotions in a piece of music, but maybe not in a conversation amongst friends. What do you think about that, Tahira?
I definitely agree. Oh, sorry.
Well, speaking of vulnerability, there's definitely a question of how men should remove the idea from their mind that vulnerability is a weakness rather than something you can just rather express for yourself out in the open, not only in music but in conversation, like you said.
I feel like it has to be shown. It definitely has to be shown from birth. Like, I've never seen my dad cry, like since birth. But there was one time, and that was when he was playing a piece of music. He was playing sax, I remember it.
Music's a powerful thing.
Yeah, like, and I feel like maybe that is like constituted, that's gone towards how I've chosen to express myself, because it means that I've been able to be vulnerable, but through a lens that I've seen or internalized it to be okay to be vulnerable, if that makes sense. So I feel like for men to remove the idea that vulnerability is a weakness, it needs to be shown by men they look up to.
It's interesting you said you'd never seen your dad cry, and he's the first role model in your life, if the first person you look up to. So to never see him cry, how does that set the bar for you in terms of crying?
Well, I don't cry. Like, I find it really hard to actually tell myself, well, you need to let emotions out, because it's not something that I feel like I should be doing biologically as a male. It's really weird. And even though logically I know that like it's great and it has so many benefits, emotionally and like scientifically.
Yeah, there are loads of benefits to crying.
Yeah, 100%. Like, my subconscious or unconscious just can't get behind the fact that I can just let go and get all those emotions out.
So what about people who don't have a dad to kind of set that bar and maybe once in a while have a cry for you to see, oh, actually dads do cry? Like, what do you guys think? What do you suggest for them?
I'd say probably being raised by a strong mother figure. For me, it's kind of different in a sense. It's like, because I've been shown that it's okay to cry, but not everybody has that. As in terms of father figure, I know I didn't, but I feel like, how do I say this? As I've grown, it's just always something that I've just kind of kept with me, if that makes sense. Like, it's okay to let go, kind of thing.
Tahira.
Yes, Liam. Well, do any of you feel that your friends don't understand you quite as well because of the stereotype of not talking about your feelings, like in conversation with them casually or anything like that?
I'm going to say sometimes I feel like I can't share certain things. I'm like, oh, that's a bit too deep, bro. Like, why are you talking about that with me, if that makes sense? So there's definitely that level of boundary in a friendship. But yeah, that's all I've got to say about it.
I think there's a level of risk as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
You're with your boys or whoever you're with, your friendship circle, and maybe you are suffering, maybe you are going through something, and maybe you want to talk about it, but then there's that risk of saying, oh, if I say this, is it going to change the dynamics? Is it going to change how they think of me? Is it going to change my perception in the group or whoever? Like, how do you boys navigate that?
You know what I found? It's really weird. I've been less open and emotional with my black friends because I feel like there's a hyper masculine like image that we have to live up to, and I don't feel that when I hang around with like my white friends or like any other like races. But I think there's like a camaraderie. It's like, we're black, we're strong, we need to stay together. Yeah, it's something I've only realized like recently, but it starts with being honest with yourself about how you're feeling, and giving cues to the people that you hang around with, that you are open to have those conversations and like actually share. I think that is definitely, because it won't start unless you invite it.
Yeah,
do
you think music could be used as a tool? So we do a lot of collaboration, of course. Do you think that in some way, when young men collaborate on a track or on a piece of music and write these bars and kind of open up, is that kind of a indirect way of opening up to friends and sharing those feelings and emotions? Do you think, even on a subconscious level, maybe?
I think so, actually. Like, I know, like, me and Daniel, we've had some collaboration in the past. Sure. And sometimes we make songs, and you'll be thinking, like, these emotions, they're coming from a place. And I reckon it's an indirect way of sharing, to be fair. There is definitely intimacy going to that. Like, I know when I sit down and write, when I'm putting on past experiences and I'm having to put down a mic, like, he's in the studio and I'm like, oh, this is too much. I'll be like, no, it's fine. Just be.
Because you might not ordinarily go up to Daniel and be like, oh, do you know what, this girl really broke my heart, bro, she tore it out there. But on a track, you might spit those bars, he might be like, well, okay, Chris, you're going through something. Yeah.
Is there any more points to add on to that one, or next question?
I'm going to just want to add to what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
I feel like because you don't have to address it directly to that person, it's a lot easier.
Right, like you can speak it more broadly.
Exactly that.
Oh,
you could always say it's not about me. It's not a real thing. It's just a song.
Just a song.
There's always that fallback, isn't it? It's true. Yeah.
Moving on just a little bit. Do any of you feel like there's a needing or like a needing of masculinity to present yourselves with, like in society or in your communities or anywhere?
It's difficult, isn't it, to navigate, especially in this current climate. Like, what even is being masculine? What is an acceptable level of being masculine? You talked about we should be brave and strong and blah blah blah, but a lot of those adjectives come with some negative connotations, in the way you present those behaviors or whatever they're going to be. How do you boys do it? How do you present and feel and walk around feeling masculine in a world that's kind of questioning masculinity?
I think in some sense, I am like I'm a guy. I walk around like.
Are you?
I feel like there's a sense where I feel masculine, but there's also there's a lot of imposter syndrome to it. It's like, am I masculine enough, or am I presenting in the right way? I feel like personally I've had to undo a load of those like notions that I've carried for so long, and it's trying to just be and like understand how you're acting and pick apart like what you feel and did that feel right for me? Should I be acting this way? And act in a way that makes you feel most comfortable, but also the people around you, like being respectful and just existing.
Where are you supposed to learn masculinity from?
Tough question.
Yeah. It's kind of that thing, nature versus nurture. It's like what you're brought up with, what you see at home. It all kind of just amalgamates into one, if that makes sense. Right? It's like it defines you. So yeah, I think it's probably just whatever you see has a lot of influence on who you want to be.
And what about music? How does music play a role into feeding into your masculinity and your identity, if at all?
For me, I feel like that's just my outlet, if that makes sense. So maybe some of the things I'm dealing with that I wouldn't want to show my personality, I want to put it in music, if that makes sense. So just kind of maintain composed and calm most of the time. That's how I feel. That's how it works for me.
What about listening to music? Does that help define your identity and your masculinity?
To be fair, yeah, I think a lot of the music that I started listening to when I went through like tough periods, there's people, a lot of them men, like opening up and like actually being transparent, and I think I've learned vulnerability from listening to people actually pouring their hearts out over a track and like realizing, wait, like this is okay, and that's a really great thing to actually experience, especially like coming from like listening to like rap and hip hop. That definitely fed into how I viewed masculinity. But then you dig deeper and you find out there are people that aren't talking about like money and women and like being the don. And there are people that are being transparent, and yeah, it's learning from that.
And being vulnerable. I think it's really important that we hear stories of, especially for young men, of other men being vulnerable, opening up and letting us know actually it's okay to let these emotions out, express them. And it's important to hear those stories of other people's struggles as well, because it's the stories that we hear that inform the ways we think and, the kind of narratives that we have going on in our heads. I think it's really important that we listen to good music and a wide, diverse selection of music as well, not just music that's talking about guns and cars and women or whatever, because that shapes your worldview, doesn't it, to some degree? Like
very influential.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, thank you everyone. I really enjoyed listening to your stories and your points. All the good statements said here. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.